All right, what's up, peoples? What's up, peoples? What's up, peoples? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Evening People Show. I'm your host, Martin Matthews, and I am kind of winging it today quite a bit. The show I have for you today is kind of interesting. It's kind of special. It's kind of different. I'm going to start off with something real quick. I'm going to start off with a favorite saying of mine. So my favorite Bob Marley of all time is a song called So Just Say. So Just Say is one of my favorite Bob Marleys. I was going to play it today, but I'm sure YouTube and Facebook would both have issues with it. So I'll save you. So Just Say, the words of So Just Say literally says, So Just Say, not one of my seed shall sit on the sidewalk and beg bread. You know what I mean? So just said, not one of my seed shall sit at the sidewalk and beg your bread. Right? Because, and I like that song because I kind of take, I don't know, do I take pride? I think I take pride in that song. I think I take some amount of pride in that song by just thinking that that song applies to me specifically. So it's like, you know what I mean? Jah is telling me, and whoever you want Jah to be, I take it as him telling me that, you know what, youth? You ain't got to worry about nothing. All of your peoples, all of those affiliated with you, all of those for all time will always be all right. And that's how I take that song. So just say, not one of my seed shall sit on the sidewalk and beg bread. And verily, verily, I'm saying to the eye, I night oneself, love humanity, puss and dog get together. What's wrong with loving one another, and so on and so forth. If you know the song, you know that that's how it goes, right? So yeah, if you're affiliated with me somehow, and you ain't about that life, you need to get that sort out, brethren. That's the life I'm about. And I'll always be about tickle something, my dear. Bless up yourself. Bless up yourself. Somebody tell me that their show is not loading. I don't know why. If anybody else is having technical difficulties with the show, let me know. Let me check for myself if my show is loading. Let's see here. Nope, my show is up and is live. So if you are not seeing the show, call Digicel or Kibla Wireless or whoever your people is, but it's not me. We have New York and Jamaica in the house already. And we're good to go here. All right. All right, let's do this. So I had a life and death situation happen to me yesterday. I obviously chose the first option, life, because here I am, mate, and I'm good in it. So we're good to go. But what I want to talk about today is banking in Jamaica. Now, my first thoughts about what the show was going to look like has changed quite a bit after speaking to some individuals that are in the system, and kind of they shed some light on what's what for me. So how I'm going to approach it today, I want to make sure that I'm being as specific as I can in things that affected me that are not necessarily generic, and that I'm being politically correct as possible to make sure that the statements that I make are not in any way being taken out of context and are not applying, or I won't project them as statements to be applied liberally in every situation because of my personal experience. Okay, so let's do this. First of all, I want to say welcome to the Evelyn People Show. If this is your first time on the Evelyn People Show, thank you so much for joining. If you are joining via YouTube, please make sure to subscribe, like, share, hit that bell so that you get the notifications whenever I put videos up. All right. With that being said, this is a show that we usually have guests on from time to time. Sometimes it's just me. Today you're stuck with just me. My bad. And if you prefer when it's just me, you're welcome. In the meantime, we typically read poetry from my book, which is back there. Love, Life, Confrontation, Expressions, Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man is the book. I was in Mandeville Fontana Pharmacy and Waterloo Fontana Pharmacies recently. It's there. It's also in Barbican and Montego Bay. So if you're in Jamaica, go in and check it out. It's a wicked book of poetry. You know what I mean? Check that out. I kind of feeling I don't know, jet lagged a little bit, like I should get some coffee or something to wake me up, right? I don't know. Maybe I'll get some coffee. Who knows? Maybe there's coffee in my cup right now. Let's take a sip and see. Okay, so it's not coffee, but we're going to keep on moving. I also want to extend prayers, and I'd invite you to join me in extending prayers to the persons that are affected and severely affected by the earthquake today. I know of like several islands, Haiti, Jamaica, Turks and Caicos, and several others that were affected. And earthquakes are no joke, boy. And if you felt it today, you know that earthquakes are no joke, right? I heard this one lasted for a little while. Magnitude is pretty in the upper echelons of what earthquakes are capable of. So we'll just watch and wait to see what the remnants of that looks like, okay? Or in our show today, we're going to be talking about banking in Jamaica. We're going to be talking about my personal experiences. We're going to be talking about some of the things that I'm going to propose based on my personal experience. We're going to be talking about feedback I got from persons that are in the system and why the experience I had looked the way it did. And we're going to just see where we get to with that, all right? So first of all, I want to make my disclaimer. My disclaimer is that what I'm going to be sharing today is my personal experience. Mind you, it might not be your experience. It might not be the way you bank, but because of what I had to do, this is the route I had to take. And this is what I saw. Okay. Now, the first thing I have, like I said, my personal experience versus the norm. Feel free to share what your norm is and what that looks like. Okay. So, some of the questions I asked when I put the show up was, have you been to a bank in Jamaica lately? How was it? Did you bank at an actual bank or at a credit union? Were there lines? How long did you wait? And just what your overall experience was when you went there. Okay. Now, I saw several tents outside of banks while I was there. I'll speak to those here in a minute. But let's start off real quick. I've chit-chatted for 8 minutes. Let's get into this here. So my personal experience is what I have some bullet points here. First one is what I needed to do. So I needed to make a deposit into my mom's account. Okay. I was depositing a check into my mom's account. I will not name the institution. But it was, so we were essentially depositing US dollars into a Jamaican account. Okay. In Jamaican dollars. They'd make the conversion. We deposited as such. All right. That's what needed to be done. Now, when I got to the bank, I went up there and when I went to the financial institution, I went up there and I was given a number. The number I was given was number E62. E62 was my number. I am Mr. E62 here. And I asked the man that was there at the doorway, so where are you at? He said he is at D70. Now he's at D70. I got E62, which means I'm technically customer number, I don't know, do the math on that, 90 something? almost a full revolution, because they have to finish the D's, get to 100, start over at 1, and I'm E62. Okay, so we have a ways to go. So I figured, okay, I had a bunch of other things that I needed to do, so let me go bang those out. Okay, so I went and did some other things, checking back each time. First time I checked back, he was at E30 something. I said, okay, I could go do something else. I went and did something else. I came back, he was at E40 something. And then I decided to wait it out from there. Now, options. Did the people that are there have options for being there? What I mean by that is the persons that were standing in the line and waiting, did they have to be in the line and waiting? At the time, me being in the line, I perceived that they did have to be. The last time I was inside a bank in Jamaica was probably 1993, probably, I think. I can't remember. It's been a while. So I actually legitimately did not remember what the banking experience felt like. Other times that I've been in banks, mostly it was to visit my friends that works in banks. And I know exactly where to find them because I know which bank they're working. And if I'm on vacation, I know where exactly they'll be, because if it's banking hours, they're going to be at the bank. Okay. I actually have not had to do a banking transaction in quite a while. So I get there. I waited outside. I'm chit-chatting with people that are there, that are waiting. I'm trying to avoid the fact that I'm outside in the sun waiting. So I was anxious to get inside to see what was inside. I got inside the bank. When I got inside, I had my mask on, obviously. We were observing COVID protocols. I sanitized my hand. I got in the line. There were probably 3 people ahead of me. At that point, when I got into the bank, I had probably burnt 4 hours at that time. Probably, I think about 4 hours I had burnt at that time when I actually made it inside the bank. There were 3 tellers. There were 3 tellers. I think one of them was doing something special. The other 2 seemed to have been servicing the 100 and God knows how many people that were in the line outside. There was a young man there inside who was directing me to sanitize my hands. There was somebody else there who was wiping down the counters each time somebody used the bank. And then there were the customers. There was another man behind there looking like he was a manager of some sort. There were some other banking representatives in another section of the bank that they were servicing customers that came in for whatever services, I guess, that they render. But 4 hours into my day of waiting, I actually was inside the bank. Okay, let's see what Thikla is saying. Thikla is saying it's crazy out here. I don't go to the bank. Social distance is a challenge there. Okay, and true, because the tent outside, if you actually wanted to be in the shade, you did not have the social distance options because there were just too many people trying to get inside the bank. But we look at what options they have, if any, here. But that for me at that time, I was just like, what on earth is going on here? Right. So I'm inside the bank. Let's see. Like I said, I told you the transaction I had to do, I had to make a deposit. And for the deposit I had to make, I had to go there. I finally did up to the teller. But I noticed, because in my job, my 9 to 5, logistics is important. Efficiency is important. The amount, how efficiently you spend the time in the building is of absolute importance. It determines whether or not we are successful for the night or we're not. So once I went inside the bank, I started looking at available spacing that was there and different things that they could have done to, in my opinion, expedite the process, for which I was now 4 hours into. Okay. So when I got to the teller, I told her why I was there. I did what I needed to do paperwork wise, and I gave it to her. She told me to have a seat. I'm like, why do I want to have a seat? She says, because it's going to be a while. So I says, okay. So I sat there waiting on the teller to get back to me for another 45 minutes or so. So now we're approaching hour 5 into my day. She called me back up and asked me what were the source of the funds that I was depositing. So I told her my bank account, because this is a check from my account. She says, how did the money get into my bank account? I said, from my from payroll. She says, okay, do I have any pay stubs with me to present? I'm like, do I have any pay stubs? Why on earth would I have pay stubs, lady? She says, you're going to need pay stubs to complete the transaction, or we're not going to be able to complete the transaction. Now, let's stick a pin there. This is me going to a bank. 5 hours, 4 hours and 45 minutes into my bank visit to the bank, I was told that if I didn't have a piece of document, I did not know up until that point that I would have needed at all. I would not have been able to complete the transaction. And I'm looking at the lady like, how wrong with the damn teller? What she mean by me have to have bank statement? I mean, pay stub. Why would I think I would have needed my pay stub to do this? And why wouldn't the gentleman at the door or anybody, why wouldn't they have somebody there checking people that are checking in, asking what it is that they want to do, and finding out if they have what they needed to complete the transaction, rather than have them wait. And 4 hours into the wait, I'm finding out that, yeah, you need to kick rock, buddy, because you can't complete the transaction that you're completing because you don't have what is necessary. While she's looking at me like I'm a scammer this whole time, mind you. Okay? And I got excited there. Let me calm down for a second. USA, Martin, USA. Okay, let's see what Simone Archer said. Simone says, my first experience in 2020, I joined a long line on the outside. It took me several hours to get in. The bank actually closed with me there. The transaction at the teller took a few seconds. The transaction at the teller took a few seconds. Now, that's going to take me into something else here, Simone, which I'm going to mention because after talking to a friend in the system, he told me something. But I'm going to ask you this in the meantime, because like I said, I'm trying to give you my personal experience, I also am not trying to make my viewpoints biased to any one direction, okay? What my friend asked me when I reached out to her in the banking system, she said, and I'll use the information I got from her to ask you this question. The transaction that you needed to do, were you able to do the transaction online? Did your bank offer online? Were you able to do it at the ATM? Why did you not choose those options if they are available? All right, let's keep moving. So at this point, me being treated like I'm a scammer because I don't have my bank my pay stubs with me. I says to the lady, I actually have online access to my pay stubs. So if you're just joining the show, we're talking about my personal experience in a banking transaction at a banking institution in Jamaica this week. I went there for one transaction. 4-point-something hours into my wait, I actually made it inside the bank. When I got to the teller, I told the teller what I wanted to do. I filled out the paper that I needed to do it. She had me sit down. 45 minutes into my wait, which is now 4 hours and about 45 minutes-ish, she calls me back to the counter and asked me the source of the funds. I told her what the source of the funds was. She told me that I told her it was my bank account, which got the funds from my payroll. Then she needed my pay stubs. I clearly didn't have my pay stubs. I didn't know I needed my pay stubs. All the while she looking at me like I'm a scammer or some kind of criminal because, yeah, buddy, we got you now. You're not going to try to do what you're trying to do here. Okay, fine. I told her I have online access to my pay stubs. I can actually log into a website and give you what you need. Do you have a customer computer I can use to do this? The answer was no. There is no customer computer I can use to log in to get my pay stub. I say, do you have a Wi-Fi that I can use on my phone to log in and get it so the document actually loads? She said no. So I'm looking at her like, lady, okay, what options do I have here? I am here to complete a transaction. I've been here for several hours attempting to complete the transaction. You are now telling me that I need something that I had no way of knowing that I had, and that all the time that I'm here, y'all don't have a process in place to check if I had the proper document to complete the transaction that I'm trying to complete. But now that I'm here and I tell you that the document that you need, I do have access to that document online, you do not have access for your customers in 2021 to get online to access a document that you need for me to complete a transaction, and I am your customer with money inside of your banking institution, I'm going to calm down again. Tanasha Baxter, Tanasha Nemhard, best of yourself, my dear. Where me get Tanasha Baxter from? My experience this year was with another bank. This is Simone Archer saying, I got there at 8:30. I had 2 things to complete. After about an hour plus, I learned I needed to join 2 separate lines and collect tickets. I never left the bank until 1 p.m. Simone is also saying that I do all that is possible online to avoid wasting time and frustration, but some things just have to be done in person. Some things have to be done in person. Sharon Higgins Clark, bless up yourself, my dear. Checking in, we're talking about banking in Jamaica and what that looks like right now. All right, Simone, so you're saying that you do what is available to be done online, but there are things that you need to do that you actually have to visit the bank. And based on what you're saying, when you actually visit the bank, your experience is similar to the experience that I'm saying I'm having. Tanasha is saying, Martin, it's the most frustrating thing ever. And that's saying a lot. Let's see. Kadia is saying that my sister was unable to add my mother to her account because all the documents required to open a new account was needed. Okay, after a 2+ hour wait, even though she was another member. So yeah, so that's one of the things that kind of jumped out at me is, here's what I would have done. And this kind of jumped out at me early. There's 2 people there. They should have flip-flopped those 2 people. So the guy that was inside wiping down the counter, when people finish their transactions, he should have been outside, because I believe he was a banker as well. He should have been out there, and when he gave people tickets, he should have been asking them what they were there for. He should have been vetting their documents to made sure that they had the proper documents that they needed, and told them what to do, or offer them the option of, hey, how about I walk you inside the ATM room over here that has no line, no waiting, and help you process the transaction through the ATM or something. Okay, mind you, when I ran that by a friend of mine who is in the system, she's saying that the security guys that are outside are actually really good at managing the line and managing the people, and the teller inside may have not had that skill set to be able to manage, so he may not have been able to play that role. I don't know if they had the amount of personnel necessary to have had him outside either way and be able to actually go through and check documents, so that before people come inside the bank, they actually know, am I going to kill 3, 4, 5 hours today and be sent away to come back another day because I didn't have something I didn't have something I needed, but I had no way of knowing that I needed it before I got here. All right. Kida is saying they have been account holders for years and they want to do a simple transaction and weren't able to do it. So let's see where we're at here. I got to the teller, told her what I needed. Like I said, she treated me like a scammer this whole time. I told her I had access to my pay stubs that she needed online. She did not have anywhere in the bank available for me to access it. I then called my sister, but because there's a geo block, I just found this out too. There's a geo block on Jamaica from the US for certain websites because of scamming. So you can't access them from here. It's just not going to bring up, you're not going to get anything. Okay. I couldn't even do some stuff I needed to do for work because of the said geo block that they had. I had to call my daughter at home, and I don't know why I didn't think about that initially, because she's pretty savvy. Called her. She logged into the website. She was able to download what I needed and email them to the young lady and email them to me as well. And then she got them. Before I tell you what comes next, let me get with what Thika is saying here. And Thika is saying she went to, and I'm not going to name the bank, Thika, cash a check. They told me that they no longer cash checks. I wouldn't have. Not sure what's going on there. My account. I do not have that account to lodge. So essentially, she's saying she went to the bank and was not able to lodge her money into her own account. This is rubbish. I had to wait in line for a long time to find this out. And this is what I'm saying. If we're all here, we're all experiencing this whenever we go to the bank. Why aren't we? Why is this still happening? Why are we still experiencing this when I see certain things that can be done that shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to solve the problem? Now, I did suggest hiring more people. Someone pointed out to me that there's a lot more to hiring more people than simply paying their salaries. You have I don't know, 401ks, whatever benefits, whatever else in the background are associated with that. But my question was, if you are still clearly having the same volume of people, if you're clearly still having the same volume of people to where somebody can come to your bank and they are number 100 in a line, aren't you still getting enough business to be able to hire the people? Like, if, all right, let's look at it. Here's where I kind of, this was my analysis of it. If you on a daily basis process X amount of people, okay, you have X amount of people. Kadia, you help me here because you're a mathematician. You have X amount of people. You have X amount of hours in the day that you are opened. You want your average wait time for your customers to be Y. How many tellers would you need in order to process the amount of customers that you have on an average day in the amount of time that the bank is open to make their wait time Y? You could literally calculate it as a mathematical calculation. It would tell you that you're not servicing the people that are coming to your bank with their hard-earned money in your bank or banking institution. Right now, anyways, like I said, I'm trying to not be biased in any way. I'm trying to keep it level. So let's keep going here. I had my daughter log into my account, log into my payroll account, downloaded pay stubs, email it to the lady. She now had what she needed to complete the transaction. She completed the transaction, or when she saw my pay stub now she has it. Now her whole demeanor changed. Her whole attitude toward me changed. Okay, because now she's looking at my pay stub. And now she's seeing, okay, I'm actually not a scammer. So now she's offering me nice customer service, right? She's processing the account. Mind you, now we're 5+ hours into my day at this point. Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, mother dearest, you are lucky I love you the way I do, because I would not even do this for myself. You are probably the only person on the planet Earth that I would do this for. And here we are. We completed the transaction, or while we were wrapping up the transaction, I says to her, you see the problem here, right? And she's like, what am I talking about? I said, I am a hard-working, honest person. I came to your bank 5 hours ago to complete one transaction. I am still in your bank 5 hours later completing said transactions. And I understand that you might have protocols in place to address illegal activity that may or may not be happening. How does that affect me? I am also a customer. I also deserve good customer service because I am a customer as well. But here I am 5 hours later into your banking institution, still completing one simple transaction. And I'm saying that if it was a one-off and I just happened to go at a bad day, at a bad location, at a bad time, it would have been fine. But as I was going through, I saw these tents outside of these banking institutions. These tents are like now a mainstay. These tents are now a characteristic of banking institution. Why is the tent there? The tent is there to house the amount of people that are outside waiting. And I'm saying, rather than build a tent outside, is there anything that can be done inside to process the people faster? After all, their hard-earned money is in your bank. And mind you, I'm not saying that we should go knock down banks and make them bigger and whatever, but the institution I was in, they could have reconfigured several simple things that I saw there and be able to facilitate a smoother process and be able to process people faster. And if they had someone on the outside that could even vet people's paperwork, just like checking in at the airport. You're checking in at the airport, somebody coming down checking out your passport, you this, telling you if you join that, 19 if you join this sign or whatever, just something to help expedite the process. Do we not care about customer service at all? Is a banking institution not an institution that offers customer service? And like I said, we're actually going to get into some of the things that some of the banks are doing to help their customers, and realize too that there's some of the lines are based on just old-fashioned persons and their habit as it relates to banking institutions. Now, at the end of it all, like I said, the transaction was completed. They told me how long everything would have taken to process and all that. However, I think it did not have to go that way. They should have been another way. Let's see. Let's get caught up here on our comments. We got Thikla. Katie is saying that it's absolutely true. I'm sure some of it is at the very least. Lamoy is saying they won't hire additional help. They have people crowded outside, and the same people going inside. And I don't know. It's almost like I don't know what they're going for here. Good customer service does not exist. And the issue is, it's almost like we're not aspiring for it. Tikla is agreeing that it's true, and they don't care, is what Lamoy is saying. And I'm like, how is it that this is the case? We are talking about people's hard-earned money here. We are talking about people's hard-earned money that you have in your institution. At the very least, you owe them some kind of customer service, and I don't care. Now, there's another thing that took place while I was in the bank, and it was that the lady was writing something by hand on pen and paper, some kind of notation of the transaction. I'm like, what is happening here? Why are you writing anything on any piece of paper? There are computers for these things these days. It's easier to search, easier to find, it's easier to everything. If you need to find something in this through all these pages, how do you do that? And the question, it begs the question now, is it that the finances are not there to make this happen? Is that what we're saying? That the finances are not there to make this happen? And if that is not the case, and it's not about our finances not being there, then is it just that we don't care about customer service? And if we don't, why on earth not? Okay, let's look at some options here. Let me see what Lamoy is saying before I do that. Lamoy is saying that you feel like you're in slavery when you go to the bank. And it shouldn't be like that. I don't think it has to be like that. I don't think it has to be like that. And I'll give you an example of why. I went to Juicy Patties, however they call it these days. They had a lot of people there. They had people there, and they had a lot of customers coming in, but they were on it. They were on it. Yes, there was a wait, but it was not 5 hours, because when a cashier realized that this area was overwhelmed, they came and cashed. Somebody came out and did this. Somebody came out and helped somebody. And I went to 2 different locations because I love my beef patties. And they were there. They actually care about customer service. I don't know who runs the institution. I don't know what their motto or philosophy is, but I can tell you that I can see that they take customer service more seriously. Do you think, let's do this. Do you think Juicy Patty get as much people as the bank? I think so. Maybe more so. Right? And they seem to process them faster. Why do they process them faster? Because they actually care about customer service. Why doesn't the bank? You're paying Juicy. Yes, it's a transaction because you're getting food. But at the bank, you're even going there to get your own money that you already gave them to hold for you. And it shouldn't be like that. All right. Lamoy is also saying, okay, she did. I did look at that already. All right. So let's keep going here. Options. Let's look at some options here. Let's look at some of the info I got when I reached out. Options to the line. Let's look at who is in the line. Who is in the line, and do they need to be in the line? Now, what I experienced, and based on the transaction that I was doing, there is a possibility that that transaction could have been done online. My transaction in particular couldn't. I have another friend that went there recently. They went there to close an account. They went there because they needed to make a deposit into a US account, but the account was not showing up on the ATM when they went to the ATM to make the deposit. So they attempted to use the ATM. The US account was not showing on the ATM. It was showing online. They could see it online, but when they went to the ATM, it wasn't showing on the ATM. So they had to physically go into the bank to do this transaction. They also needed to physically go into the bank to close an account. And they were there for 5 hours. They were there for 5 hours. Now, I use online for everything that you have online for. I'm trying to use whatever you have, but when we are at the actual physical institution, we need to do something there as well. I understand that there are options there. I understand that some of our people are reluctant to use some of the options, but we still need something better in place, because going to the bank for one transaction that takes you 5 hours, it is not acceptable in 2021. Let that sink in. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and it shouldn't be acceptable, and it shouldn't be accepted. It's not. Okay. All right. Now, however, like we said, some of the banking institutions do offer some alternatives, and we need to make sure, and when I say we, I mean us, the people, the customers, need to make sure that when we are going there, joining the line for however long, that the time, the transaction that we need to make sure that there are options, or there are options to doing that another way that would have taken us less time, probably not even leaving the confines of our home, and we're just not using them for whatever stigma or stereotype we have attached to banks, banking, or money, security, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? If there are options available, we need to make sure we're using those options. But like I said, for the transactions that we're going into the institutions for, the institution themselves need to do better in that regard. All right. Lamoy, you on it today, huh? Lamoy, I can tell you had one of them 5-hour experience, boy, because that is how I felt. I was hot. As much as I'm here, like I said, I'm trying to show both sides, because I did talk to some folks and they told me, Martin, this is not what happens everywhere all the time. And I can accept that, and I am happy for that, right? But let's look at what we have here. Lamoy is saying that, Martin, I had the same experience last year. When I went to the bank to do a transaction, the clerk called me fair-skinned lady to the room. Until I raised my hand to say, I'm Lamoy. She opened her mouth while it started, because she realized, okay, she was being classist. So you call her out. Lamoy, behave the mancha. 5 hours in a pandemic. I know, right? Like, you want to be out there, 5 hours mingling with people that you don't want to have to mingle with. A simple walkthrough of the line to identify what the transaction is, and giving options to the persons and giving instructions to the person. That's what came to me as well, Simone. Why not have someone walk the line? Walk the line, make sure people have, because here's the thing. If somebody had walked the line and tell me at some point, or when I checked in, had asked me what I was going to do and told me that I'm going to need the pay stubs, I could have went into the bank with said pay stub, and it would have saved me the last hour that I was there trying to figure out how am I going to get this to this lady. And if I didn't have the option to log in and get it, I'm straight out of gas. And the lady would have me walk out of the bank looking like me a scammer and treating me like a scammer, like she did the whole time. I thought your sore point. I apologize. It's my sore point right now too. It is the senior citizens that I feel it the most for. I agree with you, Simone, because grandma, it have a hard for grandma to log on, Grandma are really up to the time like that, and she now go log on. But when grandma comes to the bank, we need to be able to facilitate her that she not stand up out there in the sun or under the tent or anything for no long time. I see one poor little lady I try to sit down. When she sit down, she said the thing where she sit down pan too hot because it's outside in the sun. Come on now. Do we not owe our customers any customer service at all? Have we now just put it out there that this is acceptable and we cannot do better? And if for 1 second I thought that it was that we just did not have the money or had the capability, I would have let it go. But I don't think that's the case. I think we just don't it's either we just don't care, we lack the vision, or our customer service is just not higher on our list of things that we should prioritize. And I don't see why that is the case. We can't prioritize at all inclusive we have on work on customer service there. But when it comes to regular 9-to-5 people going into a regular 9-to-5 bank, customer service shouldn't matter there. when we're dealing with when we're dealing with each other, when we're dealing with our own people. That's not acceptable. That is not acceptable. All right, let me see. Patrice is saying that it's ridiculous. Patrice, I tell you, if I had 2 votes, I'd have vote both of them, and they would say the same thing. But let's look at this here. But so what I understand also from my mini research is that, you know, different banking institutions offer different things, and the banks, the major banks seem to be further ahead with certain things than say a credit union or some of the smaller credit unions. So some of the access and options that you have with the bigger banks, you know, you don't have with the smaller banks, or you don't have with the credit unions. However, another issue is the pushback from the persons themselves, that they just don't want to use some of these options. They're thinking, when I want to deposit, I need to go write up my deposit slip with my cash or my check or my whatever and deposit. They're not thinking I could just go to the drive-through ATM, boop, 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 slide it in, and it's the same thing. So I don't know if we need to actually, and I think someone said to me that some of this had been done by the banks, by some of the banks, where they tried to put out education out there. I think those are all the ads that banks should be putting out right now. That those are the only ads banks should be putting out on TV right now. Is that these are your options for what to do. This is how you can do this. This is how you can do that. Don't come stand in the line for X amount of time. This is how you can do this. This is how you can do that. That's all they should have an ad campaign right now on that, giving people options to do, because this standing outside in a pandemic for hours at a time in the sun is. All right, let's see what we have here. Tikla is saying customer service is a common problem in Jamaica. In some industries, Tika, because some places it's good to go. People come here and have all kind of great experiences in all kind of great places. Because until I had to go, I visit Jamaica as much as the next person, but I've never had to do this. I'm on vacation, so I go to restaurants, I go to outings, I go to places people go to have fun, and it's okay until I needed to go to the bank. God forbid I had to go to the police station too. I don't even want to know about that. All right, now, Simone is saying, I've gone to the credit union and spent only a few minutes. I was highly impressed. Might have been the time of day, my dear. Might have been the credit union, because without throwing anybody under the bus, that's where I went. Now, so the issue occurs in the multiple institutions. Now, let's look at some solutions here, some potential solutions. I just spoke to another friend of mine who was in the banking institution in Jamaica, who's now in the banking institution in Canada, and their hours of the hours of operation is one thing that kind of jumps out. Only in Jamaica, bank open 8 and close 2:30. Why? Here in the US, bank open 8, open and close 5 o'clock. In Canada, which I just learned today, bank open at 8 and close at 8. If you realize that your hours of operation cannot accommodate the volume of people that you have on a daily basis, why not extend your hours? How's that for a nice idea? So that you can actually process more people, so that tomorrow you might not have the 1,500 outside that you have, you might just have 12 or a grand. You see what I'm saying? How about extending your hours to 5 o'clock? How about opening on Saturday like banks do here, open on Saturday for half day? I don't know if every bank does. I don't know if any bank does, but how about we made that standard operating procedure, right? I get that there's a curfew, but were the banking hours different before the curfew? They were the same, weren't they? And the curfew at its earlier point is 7 o'clock. If the bank closed 5 o'clock, you can't take 2 hours yard. You should be able to. You should be able to. And that was to you, Simone, regarding curfew comment you have there. The days that you're open, like I said, add Saturday, add a half day Saturday to your banking hours to fertility. Because like I'm saying, you know, bank, Mr. and Mrs. Bank out there, your customers deserve service. You need to service your customers. If your customers are outside waiting for hours at a time to complete transactions, basic, simple transactions, you are not servicing them. The onus is on you to figure out, how can I service my customers? Do I have the solutions? I may not. Do I have suggestions? Of course I have suggestions. But is this the best suggestion? I don't know. But this should be something that is at the forefront of your mind at all time, and this is something that you should be aspiring to do at all times, because you are a banking institution with service, you're in customer service, and this should be at the forefront at all times. And if it is not, why isn't it? Like I said, emphasis on customer service, fine-tuning your process. Like someone pointed out here, that if they simply had someone outside checking papers and making sure people had what they needed to complete the transaction they were trying to complete, identifying whether or not that transaction is something that actually required them to be inside the bank, offering them some alternatives when they came, potentially somebody that has a little kiosk over here that can sign you up for online, or can sign you up for something, or can complete, or can take it to an ATM over here and help you, show you how to deposit the bank in there, or having a whole ad campaign with how to do it, so that people are more comfortable with it, because it's just problem and solution. It's problem and solution. You clearly have the problem because, like I said, there are several different branches of different institutions that I passed that had the tent outside. And I'm saying, rather than putting the tent outside to accommodate the waiting, do something inside to change the process, to make the process better, to eliminate the waiting or to minimize the waiting. All right. What else I have here? Customers use the options that are available to them. That's what I have. Let me see what else I have here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I think that's the ball game. All right, so like I said, this was my personal case study based on my personal experience that I had, that I just wanted to share with you guys. Initially, what I thought is like, oh my God, this is so terrible. We're all going to crash and burn. However, like I said, I reached out to a few friends that are in the system, and they presented options. One of them being that some of the banks do offer options, and the options are not being used. And some of the persons that are in some of these lines do have options available to them that they're not using. If you're one of those people out there in the line, find out if you have to be in the line. Find out what your bank offers. Make sure that if you're out there in the line, it's something that you have to be doing. And if you don't have to, use the options that are available. Mr. Mrs. Banking Institution, see if we can fine-tune the process a little bit now. See if we can reconfigure inside of the bank to accommodate more people. If we can, see if we can hire 2 more people now so that we can process the people and faster. See if we can have somebody outside monitoring the line, or checking in the people as they join the line and get that number, and making sure they have what they need and providing some options for them if they have options. If it is possible, how about we add another hour to our work day? How about we add 2 more hours? How about we add a half day Saturday to see if we can cover? Because come now, there are people. If this is happening in multiple banks every day of the week, we are talking about thousands of people. Like I said, when I went to the bank, the number that I got made me like number 90 something in line to be seen. And enough people come after me within the 5 hours that I was waiting. There has to be a better way. And I think if we actually were striving to find this better way, we potentially would have found this better way. I think the problem is we are not looking for this better way. We have accepted that this is it. We throw everything under the pandemic bus alongside and throw some curfew on top of it, like gravy on top of dumpling, and say, yes, this is it. This is the way it has to be. I do not think this is the way it has to be. I think if we actually sort out solutions, we can find solutions for this. It is not rocket science. We're not building rockets here. We're talking about banking and customer service and servicing customers. All right. So Mr. and Mrs. Bank, see if we can get that going. Yeah. Okay. That's it for the banking. Feel free to share your thoughts and comments, and we'll do that. This is the Evening People Show. On the Evening People Show, we're going to keep true to our game, and we're going to read. Like I said, I had a wild experience last night. It was kind of fun, really. And look at me here still having my show, because that's what I do. And because of that experience, I want to read for you today Madison. Madison is one of the books in the poem named after my daughter, who I love dearly. And I don't know, whenever I'm either sick or not feeling well or anything, I like to talk to her, because somehow she has an enthusiasm. The way she is with me, she can always deduce what's going on with me, and it kind of, I don't know what to say, mate. I'm trying not to tear up here. My makeup's gonna run if I do. All right. By the way, I'm going to read Madison for you. And Madison says, I wrote this poem in 2013. She was 8, something like that. And it's coming from my book, Love, Life, Confrontation, Expression, Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man. It says, seeing her eyes for the first time, amazing. Knowing that she was all mine, breathtaking. Realizing the stakes are raised, her life dictating how my life's appraised. I held her in my arms for the first time. I was instantly in love. Chills ran down my spine. She's God's gift from above. I must have stared at her for hours, noting every move she made, realizing God's awesome power in every breath she takes. I still smile at her reaction each time she hears my voice, the familiar intonation. Been talking to her for months. 8 years gone, still I remember all the details. Her first words, her first steps. Now she plays the piano and reads my text. She's my daughter. She's my life. She motivates me at work at night. Her smile makes my whole world brighter. Her love makes my heavy load lighter. Knowing she's as good a daughter as I am a father, knowing that for her, every obstacle I'll conquer. And if that obstacle is me, may God open my eyes so I can see. May He lead and guide me all the way. As a father, may I be blameless on that day. 8 years to 8 years and still more to come. May we always be as we've begun, giving thanks for every moment, never taken for granted any time spent. I love you. I always will. Comes what may, I love you still. My wish is to be the role model I should be, so you'll always be proud to call me daddy. Now what? That's it. That's Madison. I could read that poem and I have to watch myself, because if I meds it too much, I think I might shed a tear, mate. Go watch that, innit? All right, folks, that's the ball game. Thanks for watching the Evening People Show. I won't even talk much about Madison. I can't right now. It's an emotional poem. Didn't you hear me reading it? It's emotional. All right. Join me next time. Who do I have next? I don't remember who my next guest is going to be. Y'all figure it out when I post the ad. But thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much for staying with me. This was borderline a rant, but I think I managed to maneuver it okay. Thanks for sticking with me through my rant. But as far as the banking institutions are concerned, I'm passionate about Jamaica. I love Jamaica. It's my home country. And I kind of, because I haven't actually been in the system in certain things for such a long time, and it was such a shock to me. You know what I mean? Because on the surface, we've moved so much further past certain things. And when I went in and kind of, looked a little closer, I realized that in certain areas, we still have a far way to go. However, I don't think that where we are is how we are because we are incapable of being further. I don't think it is that we don't have what we need to take us further. I think it is our approach and what we are prioritizing that is preventing us from getting where I think we are capable of being. We're Jamaica, for heaven's sake. We're one of the proudest nations on the planet. We have the fastest people on the planet. Let's get it together. All right. Thank you. Share this with a friend. Share that YouTube link I have all over the place. And let's see if we can get this going. I will join you all next time. I am Martin Matthews, and you have been watching the Evening People Show. Peace to the people.